Cheers everybody, Steph here, Coffee with Steph. In this vlog, we're going to talk about big media, the death of big media, and how this relates to your own small business or business, and even your coding career. Don't worry, I'm going to stitch it all together for you. People who watch me know, well maybe you don't know, but I'm a big coffee drinker, but I'm not somebody who's into preparing coffees, all this kind of thing, because I just like to have my coffee, boom. So what I've done, which will get very many greeny angry, is I use these Keurig cups here. I don't know if it focuses in on there. Anyway, and so I just put this in my machine, boom, I get my little coffee, and then I throw this in the garbage. So then the environmentalists, the greeny people, they get very angry about this. Now, let me just point out a few things. I'm a huge lover of nature, and I'm from Canada, and my father was a canoe camper guide when he was very young, and I've been on several big canoe trips where you go from lake to lake canoeing. Sometimes you have to carry the canoe on your back to go on a trail through the woods to get from one lake to the next. So I've done on more than one occasion, I think 3, 4, or 5 times, I forget now, where I would go on these 2-week trips, 1-week trips where we covered 20 lakes, 50 lakes. My biggest trip I did with my father and my brother when we were younger. We did about 75 lakes up in northern Quebec, where all your food is on your back and you're going from lake to lake, and there's nothing like unspoilt wilderness that is has not, you don't see too many humans around. It's just amazing experience. I highly recommend that you take time to enjoy nature. So I am a big advocate of less pollution, less waste, and all this kind of stuff. But here's the thing about the green movement, one of my criticisms. A lot of the greenies will point at me and go, Steph, look at this your Keurig cups, you're damaging the environment. Meanwhile, they'll have 2 cars, they'll spend $100,000 on renovating their house several times. They'll go on many trips using the jet planes instead of traveling around town. So they have huge carbon footprints themselves. But they ignore that, and then they get on top of my butt for using a Keurig cup. They'll replace their car every 4 years. I keep the same car. I'm going to run my car for 10 years. I love it. I love my convertible, of course, but I buy things with the intention of keeping them for a long time. Even furniture. I buy very high-end furniture, and that's it. I bought them, and I haven't thought about repurchasing anything new, replacing them. I've had stuff for 10, 15 years. Why? Because when you buy the super high-end, they last. Not only in terms because they're built with better materials. So if you want to be green, buy the high-end, high quality, and keep it for 15, 20, 30 years. That's why I got my Eames chairs and so on. So there's an old expression, penny wise, pound foolish. So what I see with a lot of the environmentalists and the greenies out there, not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll criticize people for minor things like my K-cups, which would take like 1 million of these. I would have to drink like 1 million coffees to equal one renovation in their bathroom in terms of the carbon footprint. You know what I mean? So let's keep it real. So anyway, my little rant about that sort of thing. So I was reading some articles about how even now the NFL, which is the biggest draw on TV, they're seeing their audience drop quite a bit, like 10, 15% year over year. And it's just going to get worse because there's so much other media out there. There's so many other choices. Even the powerful NFL is losing it. Now, this goes to a basic principle I've spoken about in other vlogs, the idea that you have to be ready to adapt to the changes in the marketplace. So even the NFL is now feeling it finally. Traditional TV shows, traditional TV shows like Seinfeld and all this kind of stuff, scripted shows, they are falling like crazy. People are just not watching them like they used to. And I think the only thing keeping them alive are old geezers like me and older than me. The millennials and so forth, they rather be on social media, they rather watch YouTube vloggers. This is the nature of the game. Now, there's a lot of denialists out there. That's my word, denialists. People who deny what's happening. And these denialists who are saying that TV will never go away, it will never go away, but it will be far diminished from before. Like, I have not had cable in like 15 years or something, because why have to adhere to their schedule when I could just watch something on demand, whether now through Netflix or YouTube or any other video site. And the fact of the matter is, I find that a user-produced content by small guys like me, and I don't consider myself a vlogger. I do this, if you watch my videos, why I do this. I'm not trying to become a big vlogger here. But I just find independent content producers to be much more interesting than the scripted corporate productions. And I'm not the only one, trust me. So the NFL is losing it, audience is dropping, and so the media establishment is dealing with this issue. Now here's the thing, I was watching a show recently where they're talking to Larry King. I don't know if you remember him. He was the biggest talk show guy, one of the biggest years ago. Now he's like, it's on like RTTV or something. I don't know, it's not like I watch him very much. But he was talking to a new media guy, and they're talking about how when TV first started to rise, and at that point, everybody would listen to radio. When people would listen to radio, they would be listening to radio at 8 o'clock at night, listening to some radio show, some drama or something. And all the radio people said, no, TV would never replace radio. They were wrong. And now the TV people are going, no, the web, well, now they're starting to realize it. They said it years ago, no, the web won't replace TV. They're going to be wrong. People are not consuming their media anymore. I have like this giant screen TV here, and I may watch something on that TV once every 4 months. I'd rather just watch something on my tablet, because it's just there, it's convenient, whatever. Once in a while, I'll put on one of my big screen TVs, but these days, I don't know if I'd buy a big screen TV. And I have an old Pioneer Elite, the plasma, 60-inch. It's, in its day, it was by far the best TV, and it's still a very nice looking TV, but would I get a new one? I don't know. So when you're looking at your own business, you have to be mindful of the trends, right? Now, you can fight a trend, but you don't want to be fighting in a marketplace where you got a bunch of established players and the market itself is shrinking. You want to get out of there as quickly as possible. You want to find yourself in a market where the pie is only getting bigger. So you have to identify where those trends are going to be, and that could be as a software developer, as a coder. You have to look at where the demand is and what languages. And if you're starting a small business or you're starting a business, you have to look at, again, where the demand is in the sector, in the marketplace. Easier said than done sometimes, but that's and timing is a big issue, because if you see something coming and you jump into it too soon and the market doesn't mature fast enough, you may find yourself in a bad situation financially, where you're ready for a wave of change in the marketplace, but the market's not there yet, so you got no clients yet. So you got to be very, very careful about how you proceed with this. In terms of coding languages, I've talked about this. Check out my videos on what I learned Python, what I learned JavaScript, what I learned PHP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all these things are very, very, they're doable options these days. It just depends largely on what type of work that you want to do. So there you go, the death of big media. I think there's going to be a rise of, the rise of small media producers such as myself, although, like I said, my goal is not to become a big vlogger out there. And let me just tack this on. I talked about this in another video. Whatever you do when you're starting a new business, don't just blatantly rip off somebody else. Because if you're copying somebody else, unless you can do it much better, you're entering a world of pain trying to copy these people who have been doing this longer than you. They got a bigger audience than you. They're more polished in their approach. When you get into the marketplace, you either have to get in there with some new angle that's significant enough that people are going to want to look at you, or maybe you're getting into a marketplace where it's just growing really, really fast, where the demand is insatiable. And that's another thing. Again, it's a judgment call, case by case basis. But before you launch into a new business, I strongly suggest that you spend some time researching the market that you want to get into to be sure that you can position yourself so that you can be profitable in there. And also, you got to be also, in terms of small business, I know this is a long vlog here. In terms of small business, try to keep in mind rather that typical business takes 2 to 3 years to establish itself before it becomes profitable. Typical business, 2 to 3 years. And if you're in businesses that deal with institutions, it could be much longer. So for instance, you want to get into the educational business, which I'm in now, it takes 5 to 10 years before the average educational company, I'm talking about success stories, become profitable. And it has to do with the nature of the way these institutions work. But I have to leave that to another video because we're already at 11 minutes. Cheers, boys and girls. And I hope you found this vlog interesting.